Hey, my name is Ethan. I'm 31. Until 6 months ago, I was just a broke graphic designer renting the smallest house on a quiet cul-de-sac. Then one night my neighbor stood on her dark porch in a robe and said, "My boyfriend thinks you're just a friend." And I asked her, "And what do you think I am?" She never answered that question. But for the next 5 months, I could smell her citrus and jasmine perfume through the wall we shared, hear her crying at 2 in the morning, and watch her porch light flick on and off like a signal only I understood. If you're watching this right now, tell me where you're from in the comments, because I still don't know if what we did was wrong. I drove into that quiet cul-de-sac on a Wednesday afternoon with everything I owned stuffed into a beat-up Honda hatchback. The divorce papers were 3 months old. My bank account had maybe $800 left after first month's rent and deposit. I was 31 years old and starting over in a rental townhouse that cost less than my car insurance. The neighborhood looked like something out of a catalog. Kids on bikes, dogs on leashes, houses with those perfectly trimmed hedges that someone actually pays to maintain. My place was the smallest one on the block, sharing a property line with what looked like a glass-fronted mansion. I parked and sat there for a minute, staring at the boxes in my back seat. My phone buzzed. My sister Mia. "You there yet?" "Yeah." "Don't do anything stupid." I didn't answer that one. The landlord had left the keys in the mailbox like he said. I grabbed the first box and headed inside. The place smelled like fresh paint and someone else's life. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen the size of a closet. Upstairs, the second bedroom had a window that looked directly at the house next door. That's when I saw her for the first time. She was getting out of a black SUV, talking into a headset, juggling a laptop bag and grocery tote. Black woman. Maybe mid-40s. Blazer and heels even though it was almost 6 o'clock. Her hair was pulled back tight. Professional. Polished. The kind of woman who had her shit together in ways I couldn't even imagine. She disappeared into that big glass house without looking my direction once. I stood at the window longer than I should have. Then I went back to unloading boxes. By the time I got my mattress on the floor and my desk set up by that upstairs window, it was past 11. I sat there with cold takeout, curtains half open, watching the house next door. 1 light was on. Kitchen, I think. I could see her silhouette moving back and forth, still in work clothes, still alone. The TV came on through the wall we shared. Just a low murmur. Then footsteps crossing the floor above me. I lay down on my mattress and stared at the ceiling, listening to someone else's life happening 10 feet away through drywall and insulation. That's how close we were. That first night, didn't know her name, didn't know she was married, didn't know anything except that the wall between us was thin enough to hear her turn off the TV around 11:30, and that I was going to be hearing her every single night. The next morning, a delivery truck woke me up. I rolled over and checked my phone. 8:05. The doorbell rang next door. I dragged myself to the window and watched a guy in a brown uniform drop a box on her porch and leave. 10 minutes later, my own doorbell rang. I went downstairs in sweatpants and a t-shirt, opened the door. Another box. Small one, but the label had her name on it. Simone Carter. I stood there holding it, debating. Around 10:30, I walked next door and knocked. She opened the door in joggers and a soft gray hoodie. Barefoot, no makeup, hair loose around her shoulders, completely different from yesterday. "Hi," she said. "Hey, they left this at my place." I held up the box. "Your name's on it." She smiled. Tired smile. Real. "Of course they did, thanks." She took the box, then paused. "You just moved in, right?" "Yesterday." "I'm Simone." "Ethan." She stepped back and gestured inside. "Come in for a second. Let me grab you something for the trouble." I followed her into the kitchen. The place was spotless. Big island in the center. Long dining table that could seat 10 but was set for no one. Wine glass in the sink. Framed photos on the walls. Her in a white coat next to a black man in scrubs. Both of them smiling at some charity gala. She set the box on the counter and opened it. Resistance bands. Workout gear. "For my boyfriend," she said, pulling out a set of weights. I assumed she meant the guy in the photos. Boyfriend seemed like a weird way to say husband, but whatever. "You're a designer, right?" she asked, glancing at the logo on my shirt. Old freelance project. "Graphic design, freelance. So you work from home?" "Yeah." She handed me her phone. "Put your number in, just in case anything else gets delivered to the wrong place." I typed it in. She texted me a wave emoji so I'd have hers. "Thanks for bringing it over," she said. "Most people would have just left it on the porch." "No problem." I left through the front door, walked the 20 feet back to my place, closed the door and stood there, smelling citrus and jasmine on my hoodie where I'd brushed past her in the doorway. That afternoon, she left in gym clothes. I watched from my desk. Different car this time. Not the black SUV, a smaller sedan. I didn't think much of it. Around 10 that night, I was still working when I saw lights on in her kitchen. She was sitting at the island, eating alone, shoulders slumped, scrolling her phone with one hand, fork in the other. I heard faint sounds through the wall. Cutlery, cabinets closing. Then silence. The downstairs lights clicked off. Just a glow from an upstairs window after that. I sat there in the dark, staring at my screen, feeling like I'd moved into someone else's loneliness. The next day, a woman with a clipboard cornered me at the mailbox. "You must be the new tenant," she said. Bright smile, unnaturally white teeth. "I'm Denise, HOA board." "Ethan." She handed me a newsletter. Full color. Professional layout. "Welcome to the neighborhood. We like to keep things nice around here." "I can see that." "You're lucky," she said, nodding toward Simone's house. "Living next to the Carters. Simone's a corporate attorney. Her husband's a surgeon. Very successful, very visible." Something in the way she said it made me pause. "Surgeon?" I asked. "Dr. Marcus Carter. He's at the hospital most of the time, but when he's home, he's wonderful. Such a power couple." I thought about the photos. The empty dining table. The single wine glass. "And, of course," Denise added, lowering her voice like we were sharing a secret, "Simone has that trainer she sees. Jordan, young guy, from the gym." I must have looked confused because she laughed. "Oh, don't worry. It's all very modern. Marcus is barely around. Jordan keeps her company. We all know." She patted my arm and walked away, leaving me standing there with a newsletter I'd never read. That afternoon, I saw them. Simone pulled into the driveway in the sedan. A guy got out of the passenger side. Mid-30s, fit, tight shirt, charismatic smile. He said something that made her laugh, but he didn't help her carry the bags from the back seat. Jordan. They went inside together. I sat at my desk, staring at the closed door, replaying Denise's words. Husband, boyfriend, trainer. I called Mia. "She's married," I said. "Who?" "My neighbor, the one next door. She's married to a surgeon, and she has a boyfriend." Mia was quiet for a second. "And you live right there?" "Yeah." "Ethan." "I know. Keep your head down." "I am." I hung up. Through the wall that night, I heard Simone on the phone. Brisk. Professional. Probably work. Then softer. Flirty. Probably Jordan. Then a voicemail alert. A man's voice, clinical and rushed. Probably Marcus. 3 different versions of her voice in 30 minutes. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to her life happen in surround sound. The next day, the HOA sent out a group email about a neighborhood mixer. Everyone was invited. Simone was copied. So was Marcus. So was I. I was standing outside taking a work call when Simone came home with a stack of files. The wind caught a few pages and blew them toward the fence. I helped her grab them. "Thanks," she said, brushing hair out of her face. "No problem." She glanced at my phone. "Bad client?" "Aren't they all?" She laughed. Tired laugh. Real. Denise walked by with a dog I'd never seen her actually pet. "Afternoon, Simone." "Ethan." Her eyes flicked between us. "So nice to see neighbors helping each other." Simone's whole posture changed. Straighter. Cooler. "I have a call. Excuse me." She walked inside without looking back. I stood there, feeling like I'd just been caught doing something I hadn't even done yet. That night, past midnight, I stepped onto my back patio to throw out some trash. I heard Simone's phone ring on the other side of the fence. A custom ringtone. Clinical. Short. Her voice drifted over. "Hey. Yeah, I'm fine. Everything at home is perfect. No, don't worry. I'll see you this weekend. Love you too." The call ended. Silence. I stood there in the dark, listening to absolutely nothing, feeling the weight of that word. Perfect. The next evening, the power flickered. My side came back on fast. Simone's side stayed dark. I was at my computer when I heard her muttering through the wall. Something about her phone dying, needing to send an email. There was a soft knock at my door. I opened it. She stood there in joggers and a hoodie, phone in hand, damp from the rain outside. The house behind her was completely dark. "Can I charge my phone for a minute?" she asked. "I'm supposed to send something to a client and—" "Yeah, come in." She stepped inside. My place was small, messy, moving boxes still stacked in corners, my computer glowing on the desk, a coffee mug I hadn't washed. She plugged her phone into the wall and sat at my tiny table. "Sorry," I said. "It's not much." "It's fine." Her perfume filled the whole room, citrus and jasmine. I noticed she wasn't wearing her wedding ring. We sat there while her phone charged. She saw the folder on my table. Divorce papers peeking out. I saw the indentation on her ring finger where the band usually sat. "How long?" she asked. "Finalized 3 months ago." "I'm sorry." "It's fine. I was checked out long before the papers." She nodded. Looked at the rain streaking the window. I know that feeling. We talked for an hour. She told me she was tired of being impressive. Tired of performing, for Court, for Marcus, even for Jordan. I told her my marriage had ended because I'd stopped pretending I was happy. She said she wasn't sure she'd ever really started. The power came back on her side around 11:30. The lights in her house flickered to life through my window. She stood, unplugged her phone, walked to my door. We stood there. Rain falling outside. Porch light behind her creating a halo. "Thanks," she said. "Anytime." She walked back through the rain to her house. I watched her go. Watched her close the door. Lock it. The sound echoed. I went back inside and sat at my desk, breathing in the trail of citrus and jasmine she'd left behind. The weekend came. Saturday morning, I woke up to the sound of a treadmill humming through the wall. I looked out the window. Jordan was there, adjusting settings on a machine in Simone's home gym. She ran, face blank, while he talked at her. Denise walked up with another flyer. Mixer postponed because of rain. Porch social tomorrow instead. "The Carters are pillars of the community," she said, watching Simone through the glass. "We're lucky to have them." I nodded and went inside. My client called, complained about a design I'd stayed up until 3 finishing. I bit my tongue and promised revisions. That afternoon, Marcus's car pulled up, dropped off a garment bag, left again. Didn't even go inside. Simone stood in the driveway, watching him drive away. That night, I microwaved leftover pasta and ate it at my desk, watching her sit alone at that huge dining table, scrolling her phone, food untouched in front of her. I called Mia. "She's complicated," I said. "They always are. I'm not doing anything. You're thinking about it." I didn't argue. The porch social was awkward as hell. Sunday evening, neighbors everywhere, folding chairs, coolers, fairy lights strung between houses. I stood on my small front step with a soda, feeling completely out of place. Simone came out in casual clothes, wedding ring on. No Marcus. She told a neighbor he was on call. Denise introduced me to a couple who clearly judged my car and my rental status within 30 seconds. Simone drifted toward me, stood close. We joked quietly about the neighborhood, about Denise, about how exhausting it was to smile at strangers. A neighbor mentioned that trainer guy. Simone laughed it off. Practiced answer. Smooth. I noticed how different she was when people were watching. The social ended around 9. People went inside. Denise lingered, eyes on us. Simone stepped back. Formal voice. "Good to see you, Ethan." She walked away. I went inside, but through my window I saw her on the back patio with wine, barefoot, scrolling work emails alone. Around 11, I stepped outside to throw out trash. Her phone rang. Marcus's ringtone. Her voice changed. Perfect wife mode. "Hey. Yeah, I'm fine. Everything's great. See you soon. Love you." The call ended. I stood in the dark, listening to the silence after. Monday night, it was drizzling again. I was working late when I heard her front door open. I glanced out. Simone stood on her porch in a robe, arms folded, staring at the empty street. A minute later, there was a knock at my door. I opened it. She stood there, tired eyes, hair loose. "Can you step outside for a second? I can't breathe in there right now." We stood on my front stoop, facing her dark house. "Jordan and Marcus are both frustrated with me," she said. Not joking, not smiling, just tired. "Marcus because I'm distant, Jordan because I won't commit more time." I didn't say anything. "Jordan said something earlier." She laughed, but it wasn't funny. "He said, 'My boyfriend thinks you're just a friend.'" My chest tightened. "Like it's jealousy or something," she added. "Like I owe him an explanation for who I talk to." The rain picked up slightly. The cul-de-sac was silent except for water hitting pavement. I looked at her. "And what do you think I am?" She went very still. For a long time, she just stared at me, like she was seeing me for the first time, or maybe seeing herself. A car turned onto the street in the distance. Headlights swept across us, reminded us we were standing outside, visible, exposed. She took a small step back toward her walkway. "I should go," she whispered. I watched her walk the 20 feet to her door, watched her close it, lock it. The click echoed in the wet air. I stood there, rain soaking through my shirt, replaying that question in my head. "What do you think I am?" She never answered. I went back inside, lay in bed, stared at the ceiling, listened to her moving around through the wall, cabinets, footsteps, the faint buzz of her phone. No calls came in from Marcus or Jordan. The next morning I woke up hoping for a text. Nothing. She left for work early, dressed perfect, face composed, didn't look at my house. I spent the day distracted. Client pushed up a deadline. I barely focused. Late afternoon, she texted. Hey, sorry if I made things weird last night. Can you help me with an email later? Legal eyes are fried. I stared at the message. I'm not a lawyer, but I can help with friendly neighbor proofreading. Come by around 9. I sat at my desk until 9, pretending to work, watching her driveway. At 8:55, I walked next door. Her door was unlocked. I stepped into the kitchen. Soft lights, the smell of coffee and her perfume, legal pads everywhere, coffee mugs, her wedding ring sitting in a small dish by the sink. She was at the island, laptop open, hair tied back. Thanks for this, she said. I sat next to her. Our shoulders brushed. She showed me the email. Dense legal language. I helped her simplify it. Halfway through, her phone rang. Marcus. She let it go to voicemail, then called him back on speaker. He talked about a conference, a trip, barely asked about her day. I pretended to focus on the screen. When the call ended, her energy dropped. It's nice, she said quietly, having someone on this side of the wall who gets what burnout feels like. I nodded. Around 10:15, I stood to leave. As I stepped onto her porch, headlights pulled up. Jordan. He parked at the curb, got out, looked at me. Long, assessing stare. I walked past him, 20 feet, back to my own door, heart racing. Through the glass, I saw Simone greet him with a smile I recognized as performance. I closed my door and stood there, breathing hard, feeling like I'd just been caught in something I couldn't name yet. The next morning, I went to the gym. Same gym Simone mentioned once. I used the discount code she'd texted me weeks ago. Jordan was there. Confident, laughing with clients, clearly in his element. Simone arrived later in sleek workout clothes. Her face changed when she saw him. Flirty, but strained. I stayed on a treadmill, watching in the mirror. Jordan leaned close to her. Spoke low. She glanced up. Our eyes met in the mirror. For half a second, everything froze. She looked away fast, stumbled slightly on a rep. Jordan followed her gaze. Saw me. He asked her something. She answered too quickly. Just my neighbor. After her workout, she approached me at the water fountain, half annoyed, half relieved. Didn't know you came here, she said. Figured I'd try it. Jordan walked over, shook my hand. Grip too firm, smile too tight. Simone collects people when she likes their vibe, he said. Joking. Not joking. I left first. That night, she texted. We need to talk later. I looked out the window. Jordan's car was parked outside. Music drifted through the wall. Around 10:30, his car left. She texted again. If you're still awake, can you come over for a minute? I knocked. She answered in home clothes, hair down, makeup gone, exhausted. We stood in her kitchen. I told him about you, she said. Jordan, I told him because I couldn't explain why I'm smiling at my phone. I didn't move. He said he doesn't want to compete with some sad white neighbor. Her voice cracked. I told him we've never even hugged, that it's nothing. Silence. But it didn't feel like nothing, she whispered. She moved around the kitchen, put on music, something soft, the kind we'd talked about liking once. She touched my forearm while making a point, bumped into me at the counter. If this were a movie, she said, laughing bitterly, we'd kiss right here, in this exact lighting. Then her face fell. I don't even know what I want anymore. She stepped close, rested her forehead briefly against my chest. Eyes closed. Just breathing. I didn't move, didn't touch her, just let her be there. Her phone buzzed. Work email. She pulled back, laughing awkwardly. My real boyfriend. The moment broke. I left through the back door around 11:45 to avoid being seen. Almost ran into Denise walking her dog. "Little late for a visit," she said, eyes narrowing, "helping with her Wi-Fi." She didn't believe me. I went home, lay in bed, listened to Simone pace through the wall until past midnight. And for the first time since moving in, I realized I wasn't just her neighbor anymore. I was something else, something neither of us had a name for yet. Over the next 3 days, we fell into something dangerous. Morning texts about coffee and how neither of us slept. Afternoon waves when she pulled into the driveway, sometimes with Jordan, sometimes alone. Occasional visits where I'd help carry groceries or fix something on her laptop. We were careful, always careful. But Mia called on the second night. "You're too close to this," she said. "I'm just being a good neighbor. Ethan, you're becoming the bridge between her lives, and bridges collapse first." I didn't argue because she was right. The HOA sent another group email, lawn inspections coming up. Simone forwarded it to me with a meme about Denise. We texted back and forth for 20 minutes, laughing about nothing. My freelance client came through with a better contract, more money, steady work. It meant I could actually afford to stay in this house long term. It also meant I had more to lose if things got messy. On the third evening, Simone invited me to sit on her back patio while she pretended to read legal briefs. "I just need company," she said. "Not conversation, just presence." I brought tea. She had wine. We talked about childhoods, parents, what home felt like when you were a kid versus what it feels like now. "I don't think I've felt at home anywhere in years," she said quietly. I understood that. Around 9, we heard the gate latch click. Her eyes went wide. "Jordan," she whispered. "He wasn't supposed to come tonight." She gestured toward the narrow side gate that led to my yard. "Go, please." I slipped through, brushing against wet hedges, heart pounding in my chest like I was 16 sneaking out. I made it back to my house just as I heard Jordan's voice behind me. "Hey, babe. Thought I'd surprise you." I closed my door, locked it, stood there breathing hard. Through the wall, I heard them talking. Couldn't make out words at first, just tones. Then it escalated. Voices got sharper, Jordan asking why she was out here alone. Simone saying she was just unwinding. He mentioned the second glass on the table. She said she'd been reading and lost track. "That neighbor," Jordan said, clear enough that I heard it. "You're lying about him. He helps sometimes, that's it. You think I'm stupid?" Something hit a surface, sharp sound. Her ring, I realized later, tossed onto the counter. Silence. Then a door closed. Heavy. Final. I stood with my hand flat against the wall, feeling the vibrations of their argument through the plaster. Eventually the TV came on. Gym music. Then off. Silence. I lay in bed past midnight, staring at the ceiling, replaying the sound of her ring hitting the counter. Wondering which man she'd call when she needed someone. The next morning I didn't text her. She left for work, late, simple clothes instead of full attorney armor. Eyes swollen like she'd been crying. She didn't look at my house. I spent the day trying to work, failed, kept glancing at the driveway. That afternoon, the neighborhood group chat lit up. Denise announcing the HOA newsletter would feature community families this month, including a photo of Simone and Marcus to celebrate his achievements. That evening, Marcus came home. First time I'd seen him in person in days. He wore his hospital badge, clipped to his coat. He greeted Simone with a brief hug through the window. Perfunctory. Like co-workers. Denise showed up with a camera. I watched from my upstairs window as they posed on the porch. Simone's hand on Marcus's chest. smiling tight, her wedding ring catching the light. The photo lasted 30 seconds. Then Marcus went inside to take a call. Simone stayed on the porch, smile dropping the second Denise walked away. My phone buzzed. "Sorry if you heard anything last night." I stared at the message. "I did. I'm here if you ever want to talk." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared, appeared again. "Thank you." That was all. Around 10, Marcus left again with his overnight bag. Simone stepped onto the porch alone after his car pulled away, glanced toward my house for half a second, then went back inside without waving. The next afternoon, I finally sent a neutral text. "How's your day?" Long pause. Then, early evening, "We need to cool off. Please don't knock. Please don't wave. Just be my neighbor again for a while." I read it 3 times. The "don't wave" part hit hardest. I'd become something that needed distance, not comfort. Distance. Over the next few days, everything changed. Her curtains stayed mostly closed. She left earlier for work. Came home later. Jordan's car appeared one night and stayed until morning, then didn't come back for 3 days. Marcus didn't appear at all, but a delivery arrived addressed to both of them. I tried to keep normal, met a freelance deadline early, went for a run around the neighborhood, noticing how many windows had clear views into both our yards, declined an invitation from an old coworker to meet for drinks. My sister texted, asking how I was doing. "Fine. You're lying." "Yeah." At night, I sat on my couch, staring at the text thread with Simone. All those late-night conversations, photos she'd sent of HOA emails, voice memos about bad days at work. One by one, I deleted them, hesitated at certain messages, then hit delete anyway. The last one on the screen was hers. "Just be my neighbor again." I locked my phone, turned off the light, lay in bed, listening to the wall between us that suddenly felt thicker than it ever had before. I tried to move on. Mia convinced me to sign up for a dating app. I had an awkward video call with a woman who seemed nice but didn't make me feel anything. Over the next few days, I forced myself into a routine. Coffee at my desk without looking out the window. Work with my blinds halfway open so I didn't look like I was hiding. One actual coffee date downtown, with a woman who laughed at my jokes and smelled like vanilla. I spent the whole time comparing her to Simone. I left early. When I got home, Jordan's car was parked outside Simone's house. I sat on my couch, TV off, listening to muffled music through the wall until past midnight. Mia called again. "I'm coming to visit in 2 weeks," she said. "Check on your mental health and your kitchen hygiene." "I'm fine." "You're not. But you will be." On the 4th night after Simone's text, I came home from my failed coffee date to see Jordan's car still there. Lights on inside, music playing faintly. I sat in the dark, remote in my hand, not turning anything on. Just listening. The music stopped around 11. Then voices. Low. At first. Then sharper. Not as loud as before, but tense. I couldn't make out every word, just phrases. I can't keep doing this. I'm tired. It's not about him. Him. Me. Another pause, then something small and sharp hitting the counter. Her ring again, then silence. Deeper this time. A door closed softly. Jordan's car started up, drove away. I watched through my window until the taillights disappeared. The next morning, Simone left late for work. Simple clothes, hair pulled back, eyes tired. She looked like someone who'd cried herself out. I didn't text. That night, past 11, I stood in my dark hallway with my palm flat against the shared wall. Through the plaster, I heard soft, sporadic sounds. Crying. Muffled. Trying to stay quiet. Then it stopped. I whispered her name once, just once. knowing she couldn't hear me. Then I went back to bed and stared at the ceiling, eyes open until the sky started to lighten. The next morning, the neighborhood group chat exploded with a new announcement. Spring block evening in 2 days, hosted partially in Simone's driveway. Denise had volunteered her. Simone replied in the thread with a polite, "Sure, happy to help." I could feel the exhaustion in those 4 words. Over the next 2 days, I watched a cleaning service van in her driveway, preparing the house for public viewing. Marcus's car appeared the night before the event. I saw them through the kitchen window, standing apart, talking like colleagues planning a presentation. No warmth, no touch, just logistics. The block party started at 6. I stood outside with a store-bought pasta salad, feeling like an imposter. Denise guided people toward Simone and Marcus's house like a tour guide. Simone wore a tasteful dress, smiling, greeting neighbors. Marcus stood beside her, shaking hands, completely comfortable being watched. Denise introduced me to Marcus as the neighbor. "Good to meet you," Marcus said. Professional handshake, distracted eyes. "Thanks for keeping an eye on things while I'm at the hospital." Simone's eyes flicked to me, loaded with something I couldn't name. "Of course," I said. Inside, the house looked like a magazine spread. The family portrait that would be in the newsletter sat on a side table. Everything curated, nothing real. I ended up in the kitchen at the same time as Simone, just for a minute. "Thanks for coming," she said quietly. "I didn't want to do this alone." "You've got help tonight," I said, double meaning. Marcus, the crowd, the buffer. She nodded, looked down at her ring. "Yeah." Denise appeared in the doorway, watching us. Simone stepped away immediately, increased the distance, smiled at Denise. I grabbed a water and moved toward the living room. Jordan wasn't there. I noticed. Simone noticed. Neither of us said anything. The party ended around 11. I went home, but I couldn't stop looking out my window. The house emptied. Lights dimmed. Simone stood alone in the kitchen in her event dress, wiping the counter in slow, mechanical movements. Marcus appeared briefly, said something, headed upstairs. Simone waited until he was gone. Then she leaned on the counter and covered her face, shoulders shaking for 3, maybe 4 seconds. She composed herself, turned off the light, disappeared into the dark. I stood at my window, chest tight, wishing I could do something, knowing I couldn't. The night after the block party, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at my phone, the wall, the ceiling. Around 2 a.m, my phone buzzed. Simone. A photo. My old chipped coffee mug sitting on her kitchen counter next to a cold cup of tea. The caption, "Porch light means I can't sleep." I sat up, confused at first. Then I looked out my window. Her porch light flicked on, off, on again. A signal. Marcus's car was still in the driveway. The house was dark except for that single light. I stood, pulled on a hoodie, and stepped outside onto my front stoop. A second later, her door opened. She stood on her porch in a robe, hair down, barefoot. We didn't cross toward each other, just stood on our separate steps, facing each other across the small distance. "Couldn't sleep," she said quietly. "Me neither." The party was exhausting. "Yeah." We stood in silence for a minute. The cul-de-sac was completely still. Just us and the porch lights. "Jordan and I ended things," she said. "For real this time. No big fight. Just too many arguments. Too little understanding." I nodded. "Marcus is trying," she continued. "Trying to be around more. But I don't know if I have the energy to meet him halfway anymore." "What do you want?" I asked. She looked at me for a long time. I don't know, but I'm tired of pretending I do. I stepped down 1 step from my stoop. She walked down 2 steps toward the property line, but stopped short of crossing. We were close. Close enough that she reached out and straightened the edge of my hoodie. Her fingers brushed the damp fabric. Then she leaned in, rested her forehead gently against mine. Eyes closed. Just breathing. Just existing in the same space. 5 seconds. Maybe less. Then she pulled back. "Good night, neighbor," she whispered. She turned and walked back inside. Closed the door softly. I stood there, heart racing, the warmth of her forehead still pressing into mine. Both porch lights stayed on. The next morning, she left late for work. Tired. Calmer. She glanced at my house and gave the smallest nod before driving away. Over the next week, we didn't visit each other's homes, but we texted occasionally. Neutral topics, HOA complaints, bad coffee, work stress. I focused on my freelance work, landed a corporate client, set up a better home office. Simone mentioned trying couples therapy with Marcus. She said it with a wry tone, not expecting miracles. Jordan didn't reappear. His name popped up once on her phone screen in a notification I glimpsed from my window. She swiped it away immediately. Mia confirmed her visit. I cleaned my place, prepared to explain Simone somehow. We fell back into a rhythm, more careful, more distant, but still connected. Smiles from across the driveway, rare but meaningful waves, the occasional text that made us both smile. The emotional charge was still there. We just handled it differently now. A lease renewal notice arrived in my mailbox, rent staying the same. I stood at the mailbox, looking at the paper, then at Simone's house. She was bringing in groceries alone, juggling bags, hair tied back. I decided right there. Signed the renewal that night. Committed to another year of living 10 feet from temptation. Over the next month, we settled into something sustainable. Simone appeared at my door occasionally to borrow something mundane. Sugar, a screwdriver, my coffee mug again. Each time we kept respectful distance. But the conversations were warm. I went on one more casual date, told Simone about it in passing. She smiled. Supportive. Tight. That night, I heard her pacing through the wall longer than usual. Mia finally visited for a weekend. She met Simone in passing when Simone brought over a misdelivered package. After Simone left, Mia looked at me. "That's her." "Yeah." "You're staying here because of her." "No. I'm staying because the rent's good." "Ethan, if she's the only reason you're staying, that's a lot to put on a porch light." I didn't argue. Simone and Marcus were seen together more often, leaving at the same time once, arriving home from what looked like dinner another time. Their body language was civil, not affectionate, but civil. Denise still watched, but without evidence, it was just tension. I settled into a routine that quietly orbited Simone. Coffee at my desk with a view of her driveway. Late-night work sessions in sync with her kitchen light. Shared memes about HOA absurdities. It wasn't what I wanted, but it was something. And some nights, that was enough. One evening, we stood on opposite sides of our shared fence, talking about nothing important. Weekend plans, a new show, the weather. The conversation dipped. "I'm thinking about taking a solo trip," she said, "just to remember who I am when nobody's watching." "I'd miss seeing you out my window," I said. Tried to laugh it off. She smiled. Sad smile. Real. "You'd still hear me through the wall." We both fell quiet. The sun slipped lower, orange light on her face. I wanted to say something. Didn't. She turned and walked back toward her house, stopped at the patio door, looked back once, then went inside. A few nights later, I couldn't sleep. It was late, Past 11. The cul-de-sac dark except for streetlights. I sat at my desk, desktop fan whirring, scrolling through old project files but not really seeing them. My eyes kept drifting to the window. Simone's house was mostly dark. Just a faint glow upstairs. I was about to give up and go to bed when her porch light flicked on. I stood, moved closer to the window. The light flicked off, then on again, our signal. I stepped onto my small front stoop, hoodie on, hands in pockets. A second later, her door opened. She stood on her porch, wrapped in a cardigan this time. Hair down, barefoot. We stayed in our own spaces, practiced at this now. Couldn't sleep, she said. Me neither. We talked quietly, about her day in court, exhaustion without details, my annoying client, Mia's teasing during her visit. The subtext hung between us, that we both still thought about what we could be, but neither of us named it. I don't know where my marriage will land, she said finally, but I'm trying to be honest with myself for the first time in years. I'm learning how to care about someone without demanding a title in return, I said. She nodded. That's hard. Yeah. We stood there, the night quiet around us. What we have is dangerous, she said softly, but it's also kept me from feeling completely alone. Same. Neither of us suggested leaving, running away, changing anything drastically. We just stood there, acknowledging it. Finally, she pulled her cardigan tighter. I should go. Yeah. She walked slowly back toward her door, hand on the handle. Then she stopped, turned back. Leave your porch light on tonight, she said. Okay. She went inside. I stood there for another minute, watching her silhouette move across the window. Then I went inside, left my porch light on, sat at my desk in the dark, both our lights glowing in the quiet cul-de-sac. Over the next few weeks, it became a pattern. Some nights, her light would flick on and off. Some nights, mine would. We'd step outside, talk quietly, then go back to our separate houses, never touching, never crossing that line, just existing in each other's orbit. Mia called one night. Are you okay? She asked. Yeah. You don't sound okay. I'm learning to be okay with not having everything I want. She was quiet for a second. That's very grown up of you. Doesn't feel grown up. It never does. One night, a few months after that first porch conversation, I was at my desk when the light signal came again. I stepped outside. She was there, barefoot, hair down, looking tired but calm. Hey, she said, hey. I just wanted to see if you were awake. I am. We stood there, not saying much, just being. After a while, she smiled. Soft, real. Good night, neighbor. Good night. She went inside. I stayed on my stoop for a minute, looking at both our porch lights glowing in the dark. Then I went back inside, sat at my desk, kept my blinds half open. I can't tell you how this story ends. I don't know if she'll stay with Marcus. Don't know if I'll ever meet someone who doesn't feel like a compromise. Don't know if the porch lights will keep turning on, or if one day they'll just stop. All I know is this. My neighbor said her boyfriend thinks I'm just a friend, and maybe that's all I'll ever be on paper. But out here, between two porch lights that won't turn off, we both know I'm the one who hears her when the whole street goes quiet. Some nights, I still step outside and wait. Some nights, her light flicks on and off. And I know she's awake too. We don't have a name for what this is. We don't need one. We just leave the lights on and keep living 10 feet apart. Some people you don't leave for, you just leave the light on for.